Questions to the Prime Minister, Daniel Kawczynski.
Question number one, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, before listing my engagements, the whole country will welcome the news that Alan Johnson, a fearless journalist whose voice was silenced for too long, is now free. And I want to thank all those who contributed to the diplomatic and other efforts to secure his freedom. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in the House, I will have further such meetings today. Congratulate him on becoming a special envoy for the government in this task.
First of all, I agree with the Prime Minister about Alan Johnson. It is fantastic news that he's on his way back to his family. Recent attempts to cause massive loss of life in London and in Glasgow remind us of the very real threat that we face in this country. There are a number of measures that we believe would make a difference. First, we support the use of telephone tap evidence in court, so we don't just catch these people, we convict them and lock them up. 6 weeks ago, the government agreed to our proposal for a Privy Council review of this issue. Can the Prime Minister tell us how soon it will publish the names, when will this meet, and when will it report?
I'm grateful to the right honourable gentleman. I hope that right across the House, as right across the country, there can be unity in our determination to fight terrorism. And I want to remind people just how brave and courageous were the explosive experts in London, and were those people who tackled the terrorist activity that happened at Glasgow Airport. And I hope that we can continue on an all-party basis to agree measures that are necessary in this country to deal with the terrorist threat. On the specific question of Intercept, I can tell him that we will go ahead with our investigation, carried out on Privy Council terms, and of course I will consult him and the leader of the Liberal Party on the names of the people that will conduct that investigation.
David Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I hope we can make progress. It is a complicated issue, but it isn't complicated setting up a committee, and that should happen without any delay. Second, we need to act against groups which are seeking to radicalise young people. Almost 2 years ago, the government said that it would ban the extremist group Hizb ut-Tahrir. We think it should be banned. Why hasn't it happened?
Of course, in all these details, and I have had to deal with this at the Treasury when we're dealing with terrorist finance, you have to have evidence to do so. And it's precisely to examine the evidence that we instruct a number of investigations. Let me tell them what we will do. We'll expand the watch list, which is the cooperation right across the world, from Europe to the Arab states, of potential terrorists, so that we list them in such a way that authorities in different countries can be warned. We'll expand the background checks that are being done where there are highly skilled migrant workers coming into this country, where people sponsor them. We will ask them to give us their background checks. Thirdly, as a result of what has happened in the National Health Service, I've asked Lord West, the new Terrorism Minister, to conduct an immediate review as to what arrangements we must make in relation to recruitment to the NHS because of what we know has happened over the last few days. And finally, of course, we will want to sign new agreements with other countries around the world so that we act together to deal with the potential terrorist threat, and we are able to deport people to countries where they should be rather than in this country. And I hope, again, that there can be all-party agreement for the measures, for the measures that we are taking to ensure both the security of British citizens and to work with other countries in the fight against terror.
Thank you. I mean, very interesting answer, but I asked a very specific question. The Prime Minister said we need evidence about Hizb ut-Tahrir. This organisation says, and I quote, Jews should be killed wherever they are found. What more evidence do we need before we ban this organisation? It is poisoning the minds of young people. 2 years ago, the government said it should be banned. I asked again, when will this be done?
Yeah, we can ban it under the Prevention of Terrorism Act, and of course, I think the Leader of the Opposition forgets I've been in this job for 5 days. I have agreed that we will look at this issue, but we need evidence, and the evidence can't be just one or two quotes. What we must do is look in detail at the evidence, and I hope he will agree with me that we approach these things in a sustained way and in a calm way, and we do not jump to conclusions. We look at all the evidence, and that is the basis, Mr. Speaker, on which this government will proceed.
but there have been 2 years of elapse since the government said it would ban this organisation. I think people find it hard to understand why an organisation that urges people to kill Jews hasn't been banned. Now, as well as preventing radicalisation and stopping future dangers, we need to protect ourselves against present dangers. Does the Prime Minister agree that the time has now come for a national border police force?
Well, I am prepared to look at this, and I have, of course, when I've been Chancellor of the Exchequer, looked at how the Customs and Excise authorities can work better with the police to secure border arrangements. But I have to say to him that everybody who looks at this issue, including Lord Stevens, who looked at this issue for him, has concluded that complementary to a border police force is the need for identity cards. And it is his party that it is his party that continues to oppose identity cards. And I may say that the new terrorism shadow minister that he has appointed only a few days ago, Lady Neville-Jones, has also said that complementary to the other measures that are necessary to protect our borders are identity cards. And I hope again, in the spirit of bipartisan cooperation, that he'll reconsider his views on the need to introduce identity cards.
If he wants to trade quotes on identity cards, perhaps he'll try this one from his Chancellor of the Exchequer. Identity cards are unnecessary and will create more difficulties than they will solve. I do not want my whole life to be reduced to a magnetic strip on a plastic card. Identity cards did not stop the Madrid bombings. After the 7th of July bombings, the then Home Secretary said they wouldn't have helped in the UK. They wouldn't come in for years. They'd cost billions of pounds, money that should be spent on things like a border police. Now let me come back again on the border police. The Home Affairs Select Committee supported a border police. The current Metropolitan Police Commissioner supports a border police. And Lord Stevens, as he said, is conducting a review for us now on the need for a border police, which he fully supports. The Prime Minister has said he's open to this suggestion. Will he tell us exactly what he will do and when he'll make an announcement about a national border police force?
But first of all, I may say to him that comments that are made about identity cards in the past have got to take into account what is actually happening now. And it is because the situation has changed that more and more people have come to the view that is taken by his security expert and taken by Lord Stevens that we need identity cards. And I know that there are many people on the Conservative backbenches who believe exactly the same as we do. As for the border police, I've said I will look at this issue. We have brought Customs and Excise and the other authorities together to work in closer cooperation already. I have to look at that in the context of the finance that is available and in the context of other measures that we are taking, including electronic borders, to step up security. But I can assure him that this government will ensure that the security of the British people is protected, and we will take all measures that are necessary for the safety of the British people. And again, I hope, Mr. Speaker, that there will be bipartisan cooperation on these issues so that we can show the world that Britain is protected against terrorism.
Jim Sheridan, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Gentleman, Right Honourable Gentleman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Convicting terrorists by using phone taps, banning the extremists that radicalise young people in our country, and vitally securing our borders, aren't these three of the practical steps that are absolutely vital parts of the unity that the Prime Minister needs to build so that we can all ensure the terrorists will never win?
And I have to say to him that we can cooperate on the issues ahead, but he has got to look at the policies that he has been putting forward and examine whether these are the right things for this time as well. And I also have to make a point to him that unfunded change is no change at all. If he is not prepared to support with financial resources the policing, the law and order, and all the public services that are necessary, then we will not be able to agree on the way forward. Mr. Speaker, in the light of the events of the last few days, I do hope that the country can come together and agree these measures. I've offered conversations with him on a number of issues, including the intercept, and on other issues we are prepared to cooperate not only with the Leader of the Opposition, but with the other parties. It is vitally important that the message is sent out to the rest of the world that we will stand strong, steadfast and united in the face of terror.
Jim Sheridan, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the dust